A legitimate question people are already asking me: is Aang at the Crossroads the new Gyruda Doom of Depths? In that, are they a win con out of the command zone with nothing else? Can they just win you the game by casting them? And being that Aang is already putting up competitive results, I can see why people are interested. And on the surface, they look very similar. Both put creatures with a certain condition directly onto the battlefield with enters the battlefield triggers, meaning you can chain them with clones. But the big difference is that Gyruda, on their own, is a win con where Aang is not. Does that mean that Aang isn't really good? Well, clearly not. Let's see why Aang is as good as he really is. First, the differences. Gyruda mills everyone, while Aang just looks at the top cards of your library and puts them back. Immediately that means that Aang isn't a win con on his own like Gyruda is. Big bonus points for Gyruda and why that deck is a 0.5 card combo and can win just by casting your commander. Where Gyruda needs to rip even mana value clones to continue the chain off the top, Aang can grab anything mana value 4 or less. This means you can include off mana clones like Mirror Image, but can't include higher mana value clones like Sakashima's Protege. Aang gets a big boost from being 3 colors over Gyruda's 2 colors, especially with the addition of white. White blinks, meaning you can rebuy your clones if they come in before Aang did, or, specifically, to win the game with a card we'll talk about in a bit. But being able to hit a Charming Prince or Icewind Stalwart or Resto Angel is like hitting another clone and rebuys your flips, increasing your odds of continuing the chain. Now, one of the other big differences is that Aang wants your Aang clones to stick around, unlike Gyruda, who doesn't care if they hit the yard because they've already milled everyone and you can reanimate Gyruda clones from the graveyard. Aang wants them to stick around because, not being a win con on his own, you need to go wide to win. This means you really rely on Mirror Box, Spark Double, or Sakashima of 1,000 Faces to get your game plan humming. Getting one of these options into play ASAP makes winning a lot easier and gives you 2 options to win. This makes it a part of your game plan to find these pieces via tutors like Finale of Devastation, Nature's Rhythm, or Court of Calling. It's a must in actually pursuing one of your lines to victory. Sure, there's the attacking path, paying 5 mana and getting 6, 7, or, all of your creatures into play is one way to do it, especially if you do it at instant speed on an opponent's turn with a Cloud Shift or Ephemerate to just untap and attack on your turn. But there's one creature that really makes Aang do his best Gyruda cosplay, and it's not one that you would think immediately. I'll give you a chance to noodle that over and let me know in the comments. I'll tell you the answer in 3, 2, 1. Believe it or not, we're going to try to win with milling with Halimar Excavator. That's right, this ally is no slouch when it comes to milling, especially with all the brand spanking new ally synergies that Avatar has given us. And Aang? He's an ally. So baseline, you mill 1 plus the number of Aangs you control each time you clone Aang, provided they're sticking around. Sure, that can mill maybe 1 person out by milling 2, then 3, then 4, then 5, over and over and over, but remember when I mentioned Blink is what makes this deck work? Options that blink out your entire board like Eerie Interlude, Lae'zel's Acrobatics, or Semester's End let us turn all those Aang clones into Halimar Excavator clones all at once. All at once! We can blink all of our clones and everything on our board except for Halimar Excavator, and suddenly we have 6 or 15 Excavators all seeing each other enter and milling our opponents into oblivion all at once. Just like Gyruda can. Is it as straightforward as Gyruda? No. Does it have benefits over Gyruda? Absolutely. And I say this as the world's #1 Gyruda stan. Blinking to restart a failed clone chain is a massive benefit, and in playing this brew, it did wonders to be able to grab the Excavator, then restart the chain to win. Again, at instant speed in some cases. That's not something Gyruda is set up to really do. You're also in green, which has better benefits as well, hitting 5 mana in Bant with green's ramp options like Birds or Hierarch or Bloom Tender is much easier than hitting 6 in Dimir when you're only relying on artifact mana. Being able to fire off a turn 2 Farseek, Nature's Lore, or 3 Visits is a big boost to your curve, and can ensure you're popping off 1 to 2 turns sooner than your opponents would have expected to deal with this whole situation. And some pieces we don't get access to in Gyruda, like Teleportation Circle, Soul Herder, or Airbender Ascension, really help rebuy some of your flips if you fail to hit another clone. That's incredibly helpful to be able to choose to whiff on an Aang trigger in favor of getting one of your non-legendary clone makers into play, or Halimar Excavator into play first, then having Aang blink to get your chain started again. It ups the consistency, especially in the contingency that you do with. Now, I will not rattle off every clone in this list since there are dozens. You can check out the deck list in the description or my Gyruda tutorial linked up top for more clone selections, but I will shout out a few clones that you don't get to use in Gyruda, being Glasspool Mimic and Mirror Image on account of them being odd mana value. Normally ones I don't get to play in my pet deck, but ones that do work here, especially the Mimic being an MDFC land in those cases where you really need to hit that extra land to cast Aang on future turns. And this deck scales up in power level, which is worth mentioning. I said it off the top, but Aang at the Crossroads is already putting up CEDH results across a few lists, across a few events, which is impressive since it's been out for like days. The unknown factor of the deck definitely plays a part in its success. But adding in game changers like Worldly Tutor, Ancient Tomb, and Rhystic Study to the deck only up its consistency, adding free counterspells and giving it protection to combo off. And fast mana means that 5 mana commander can come down on like turn 2. Am I going to switch my pet deck over to this one? Not a chance. I love Gyruda. But are both decks half cousins, trying to do the same thing in similar ways? Absolutely. Call it the Commander Chain or Clone Churn as an archetype, but it's one that I'm on board with for the long haul. You can find my deck list linked in the description, and be sure to let me know in the comments which you prefer, the Gyruda or Aang versions of this archetype. And don't leave without checking out my sponsors like Card Conduit. They are hands down the easiest way to sell your individual Magic cards without the hassle of traditional buy listing. They'll get you top dollar while handling all of the heavy lifting, from sorting to grading to optimizing your price across a huge network of vendors. And they'll give you cold hard cash for it. You can use the promo code MECHANIC right now for 10% off of all fees. And if you want to pick up the cards for this list, make sure to go check out Card Trader. Use my promo code MECHANIC right now for 5% off your order from any TCG. Card Trader's zero system means you can get cards from all over the world with only one shipping fee. Save money and time today. Lastly, you can check out all of my decks on MOXFIELD. MOXFIELD is the best deck building platform in the world and makes it easy to build decks and search for specific cards with their powerful tools. Have you checked out their drag and drop feature yet? It's revolutionary. Be sure to check out my brews and follow my profile there right now. If you were inspired to brew today, you have to hit that subscribe button. Check out this other deck on my channel right now for more sweet tech. And as always folks, good luck and have fun.